The alarm rings. You wake up, check the phone, get ready, drive to work. You work there. You come home, eat, sleep, and before sleeping, you scroll. And tomorrow, we do it again. And nothing particularly terrible happened. But then again, nothing particularly memorable happened either. You know? And that's the frightening part. Because somewhere between responsibilities, deadlines, EMIs, career goals, promotions, school fee, and the next thing we are supposed to achieve, amongst all these things, life can quietly become more of an administrative work. We aren't unhappy enough to change anything, that we aren't happy enough to feel alive. We are just functioning. I am Dr. Vamshidhar Argula. I'm an emergency medicine physician, and this is CODEBLUE Confessions. And today's confession has nothing to do with emergency. In fact, it's about the exact opposite. What happens when nothing dramatic happens for so long? What happens when nothing dramatic happens for so long that we slowly stop experiencing our own lives? I started noticing this thing in my own life. There was always something next. Finish this shift, get through this week, wait for the weekend, finish this month, pay the EMI, reach that goal, sort out that problem, and then life will settle. But life has a brilliant sense of humor, because the moment you finish one thing, it quietly replaces another one on your table. Congrats. Congratulations, here's your next problem. And without realizing it, you begin postponing happiness. I'll plan my happiness after this. I'll plan my happiness after the exam, after the promotion, after the loan, after this move, after the children settle, after I make enough money, after things become easier. We are always one achievement away from allowing ourselves to live, except the achievement arrives and happiness doesn't. There's simply another target, another achievement, another milestone. Medicine makes this especially easy. You spend so much of time around urgency that ordinary life can start feeling strangely flat. You are so used to adrenaline and that rush in your life that calmness and peace start to taste very bland. A good meal, a conversation, an evening with absolutely nowhere to be, someone laughing beside you, nothing spectacular, nothing Instagram worthy. And perhaps that's exactly the problem. We have trained ourselves to recognize happiness only when it is loud. Holiday, promotion, new car, new house, big announcement, celebration. But most of the life does not arrive like that, right? Most of the happiness on Tuesdays at 7:40 in the evening, when somebody you love is telling you something and you are half listening because your mind is already in tomorrow. And somewhere along the way, I think many of us have become emotionally economical. We don't get too excited. We have seen things before. We don't get too disappointed. We'll manage. When something wonderful happens, we just say, nice. Something painful happens, we say, it is what it is. We call that maturity. Well, sometimes it is, but sometimes I wonder if it is just numbness. I wonder it is just numbness wearing blue scrubs, white apron, formal clothing. And that's what scares me, not sadness. Sadness means you are still feeling something. What frightens me is reaching a point where nothing really touches you anymore. You work, you earn, you perform, people depend on you, your calendar is full, your responsibilities are handled. That's all from outside. And when you look at your life from outside, your life looks completely functional. But inside, you haven't felt genuinely excited about anything for a very long time. And nobody notices. And sometimes not even you. Because there is no medical emergency for that. No monitor starts alarming. No blood test which says you haven't enjoyed your life in 18 months. There is no ECG that says you haven't been happy for a very long time. Nobody pulls you aside and says your reports are normal, but unfortunately, you have become extremely good at existing. We just exist. We simply continue to exist, and years can disappear just like that. And I think that's why we sometimes feel stuck even when we are moving constantly. We keep achieving things, we keep reaching our milestones, but we still feel stuck at life because movement is not necessarily direction. We are chasing something, more money, more security, more recognition, more comfort, more success. Well, there is nothing wrong with any of those. I also want them. But you ask yourself sometime, which is very uncomfortable, what happens when you get there? Where exactly is there? What is the final point where ultimately you will start feeling happy? What is that one point? Because perhaps the cruelest race is the one where nobody told us where the finish line is. We are all running without being happy. I'm beginning to think life is not asking us to abandon ambition. Well, we are not supposed to abandon our ambition. I'm certainly not going to. I'm asking something harder. Can you pursue tomorrow without sacrificing today? Can you build a career without becoming only your career? Can you provide for your family while actually being present with them? Can you chase success without making happiness wait outside until you are finished? Because one day there won't be another Monday, there won't be another day where you say, I'll do it later. And perhaps that's one thing emergency medicine quietly teaches you. Life does not always give you notice. I'm trying to notice ordinary things again, not dramatically. I'm not abandoning civilization and moving into a cave or moving into a forest. I still have work tomorrow. I still have responsibilities. I still want things from life. But I'm beginning to question the idea that life brings after I have achieved them. Maybe this is life. The ordinary evening, that ridiculous, funny conversation with friends, that one phone call from a long lost friend, the meal you barely noticed, the person sitting beside you, that laugh that you did not plan. Maybe these aren't the things happening between important moments. Maybe these are the important moments. I'll show you something. The reason why I enjoy sitting here is I just sit here watching that sun go down every evening. There is something beautiful about evenings of this kind, where the only sounds you get to hear are the sounds of the waves hitting the shore, and you quietly see sun go down. There is no other sound except for these beautiful waves. Well, you can see my colleagues there having their own set of drink and having their time. Isn't that wonderful? Well, I am Dr. Vamshi, and this is Code Blue Confession. Until next time.